هذا بتخرجوه؟ الكوماندوز بتخرجوه كمان؟
هنتكلم عليها بعد كده. بتصيري كوماندوز.
So, how you doing? Well, yes. Enjoy the coffee? All full of energy again? All full of energy? Yes. You sure?
Yes, yes.
Good. Okay, set up, smile, ready?
Yes.
You're going to do some work now. Okay, we're getting in deeper now. As you realise we're going in deeper, you need to keep your concentration going. We're going to start talking about building relationships now, which you're all pretty good at doing. Sometimes you have to know how to not have relationships with people. So here is a question for your tables to discuss for a few minutes, and it is about rapport. If you see any book on communication, whether it be persuading, influencing, running a meeting, doing an interview, negotiating, and the list is endless. They all start off by saying, build rapport. Very few books actually tell you how to, and what we're interested in is how to. So what I would like to know from you is, number one, what is rapport? Number two, why do you need it? Number three, how do you get it? And number four, what if you don't get it? What happens if you don't get it? Okay, so I need you to get your collective brains to discuss that and tell me what your results are, and then we're going to go in and do some more discovering about rapport and how it works. Does that sound fun? How long do you think we need? About 30 seconds per question. That means 6 minutes for the whole exercise. Okay? 6 minutes maximum, starting now. You need to be discussing, not listen to me singing.
اوكي يلا انا
But then we're going to be talking about
Come on, you're having too much fun. Can I have your attention back up here, please? I can't believe the energy of you people. Look at you all. Okay.
This is the police. Come back into the room.
You are surrounded. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to come round in a moment, and what I'll do is I'll ask, there are 4 questions, so I'll ask 4 different tables, one of the questions. So, do you want to start by telling us what rapport is? Yes, thank you.
Our table, we thought, what is it? It's a mutual communication.
Mutual communication, yes.
Based on active listening, observation, and analysis.
So based on listening and active listening, observation, analysis. Okay, right. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to add to that? That's a half a hand up there. Oh, a whole hand up there. Right. Okay.
Well, it's more to describe the situation you had. Either it's positive or negative, but in deep details.
Okay. So, actually, rapport is neither negative or positive, it just is.
Bonding.
Okay. Bonding is a word, it's quite...
Bonding, understanding.
Okay. Understanding the communication. Harmony, yes. It's like being on the same wavelength. And it doesn't matter where the wavelength is, but you're on the same wavelength. And I'm sure you've known times, have you ever done that when you've been with a friend? That all of a sudden 3 hours have gone by? And you've been talking, where did he go? Because it's almost as though you're in a bubble of rapport. So, if I could ask this table, why? The second question is, why do you need it?
Well, we said that people need people in order to
Okay.
get lonely.
People need people. I'm going to repeat it so that everybody can hear it. Yeah.
And said that to know their needs and know how to communicate with them and how to get the results that we want.
To communicate with them and to know what their needs are and to get the results that they want. Yeah. So it's actually that being on the same wavelength is then passing information back and forth so that you understand them and they understand you. So that sounds pretty important to me. How do we do it?
Using certain tools that you showed us, maybe something is built in, but we have to increase it.
Right, it is built to build rapport with people, yes.
So it's like body language, so
vocal,
calibrate in order to
calibrate.
be on the same wavelength.
Yes, you're right. So to calibrate that you are, and there are certain things that are important in this. So there is the physiology, and it's not too difficult. What we call is matching and mirroring a person. And what happens naturally is that we do match and mirror one another. And the idea in our NLP is that we will speed the process up. And that's not too difficult for me to do in terms of... Do you mind if I just sit here? So how are you? Okay, good.
I have small babies, so this is natural.
There's a natural. Okay. You do with children, don't you? Naturally. Yeah. Fine. How are you? That's good. And you? Great. And you? Okay, good. Fine. So it's not too difficult to do. But you know that I'm doing it, but when you're doing it, people don't know you're doing it. You actually following their physiology, so matching and mirroring. So to match somebody is you do the same as them. So you two, you've moved now. But this is actually a mirror because I'm doing the opposite to you. This is a match because you're doing your left arm, as I'm doing it. It's a mirror. It doesn't matter either way. they say that, and you can experiment with this, that if I match you, I will, and I've done this myself, by matching people, start picking up, because I've got the same physiology as them, I start picking up their emotions. Whereas if you mirror them, you don't. But you're still showing and sending a signal that you are on the same wavelength. So the first thing is really the spine and how somebody is sitting or standing. And I always remember, chair, I always remember my first job. Do you remember your first job? Yeah?
Yes.
And I had to meet this financial director, and he was truly an Englishman. Very buttoned up, tie, very tight. And he said to me, "Right, Smith, come in, sit down." And he was a military man. You know, a military man, very right. So that was me, very nervous in my first job. And so I'm sitting down going, "Be relaxed, Robert, be relaxed." Feeling even worse because he's sitting up there like this, talking to me. I think, well, I've got to relax more. No. If I'd only known when I was young, I think NLP should be taught to all children so that you prepare them for life, because they're such important skills. If I met him now, I'd go, "Well, how do you do? Pleased to meet you." Because that's the spine. The other thing is the gesture that I was saying about the Italian man. And if you've got somebody that does lots of gestures, you do gestures with them. If you are blessed with being, or cursed with being British, and you don't feel happy doing this, you might do a sort of smaller version of it. So you are still showing the same signs of communication. So that's the body, that's the gestures, facial expressions. It's no good meeting somebody who's looking very sad. "Hello, how are you?" You know, you need, the art is called pacing and leading. You join in with other people, and who leads who? To start with, you're following them. Eventually, when you get going, you'll find that you can make a gesture. They'll return the gesture back unconsciously. Now you're in a position to start the communication because you're on the same wavelength. So it's called pace, lead. You do that until they are starting to follow you, and then you can start moving the conversation wherever you want it to go. So that's the facial. Now we're going to start talking about the voice. We've already spoken in terms of the voice and the high to low, the tone of the voice, the timbre of the voice, the volume, and the tempo of the voice. And so I know, for instance, I don't know about you, but when I'm talking to my brothers on the phone, you may not think I have a regional accent, but I do. As soon as I start talking to my brothers on the phone, my accent changes, because I change to fit in with what my original accent was. And we all do that on the phone. And so to become more aware of how you're speaking, you don't need to change it vastly. But as I was saying, well, my friend that talks very quickly, I can't talk very quickly, but whenever I speak to her on the phone, I need to talk very quickly because that's the way she talks. She talks like that all the time, like a machine gun. I can't keep up with this. It's impossible. It's impossible to do that. I've actually got a translator that I work with, and she can keep up doing this when I'm doing it live. And she does it from English to Arabic. Can you imagine that? Impossible. I would have thought that's illegal. She does it. I don't know how she does it, but she does do it. It's amazing. amazing, really. But of course, when you're talking to someone that talks that quickly, you'll need to gradually slow them down a bit so that eventually you can talk to a level that is one that I can deal with. But it's pace, pace, lead. You join in with them, and then you slow it down. And there are those people who talk very slowly, and you want to finish the end of the sentence for them. Yes?
Thank you.
You see, you need to, the thing is, you need to slow down so that you join in with them and gradually speed them up. If you talk too quickly to somebody who talks slowly, they'll go, what? They'll miss it, because that's not the way they're tuned in. And the final piece of the jigsaw are the words. And the words are, quite important, even though they're only a small part of communication. If you're going to build rapport, you need to identify any common ground, any associations that you've got that you share. We'd actually do that. I mean, for instance, I remember yesterday we were talking about when we first met about the traffic being bad and why people were having trouble getting here. It's often a thing that people talk about. So anything you have in common is important. People have favourite words and favourite expressions. Have you noticed that? Huh? I used to have a boss who used to have some very strange expressions. And one of his favourite ones, and I think, God bless him, he'd spent too much time in America, really. And he used to say, let's run it up the flagpole and see who salutes the flag. That's completely crazy. But what he meant was, because we gradually understood what he meant, was I've got this idea, I want to tell you about it and see who likes it, which would have been a nice way to say it. But if ever I wanted to try and convince him to do something, I'd say, John, I've got this idea, I want to run it up the flagpole with you and see whether you salute it. And he'd go, oh, because it was his expression. To me, it was crazy, And he used to say, another one, oh, okay. He said, I'm really keen on this idea. And after a while, you realise, what does keen mean? Interested? Huh? Actually, he meant we're going to do it. So we gradually learn. So I go, John, I've got this idea I know you're going to be very keen on, is to give me a pay rise. No, in the end, I must admit, because when I was learning this stuff, he was my guinea pig. And I'd have a month in Hawaii to do my trainer's training with all expenses, and I thought, this is amazing. But I'd use my NLP skills to persuade him that he should send me off to Hawaii, all expenses paid. And so I thought, well, that sounds like a very good scheme. In the end, I must admit, I did push it a bit too far. He would never have a meeting with me unless he had somebody else there, because he was always agreeing to the things that I wanted him to do. And there were 4 of us in the organisation who were known as principal consultants, and we were paid hugely more money than anybody else. And people said, well, how on earth do you do it? They said, well, we just said, well, because I could actually put forward ideas using all his language, so it sounded as though it was him talking. And of course, if he's thinking it's his idea, he says yes. It was never my idea. So start to listen to the key words that people use. Another one, I worked in IBM. I was actually our company man in IBM. People thought I worked for IBM. And I had a pass, and mine was a visitor's pass, but they were colour-coded. And the colour of the visitor's code was the same colour as the highest security clearance. And people never went past looking at the colour. People told me things that I should never have known because, people believed I belonged there. I'd even got the blue suit and I wore a tie, striped tie, and you could say, gosh, he works there. I didn't. I was an outside consultant. But people told me things, I'm sure if I'd have sold it, would have been worth a fortune. I joined in with the person's world, and then, of course, once you know their language, the key words and phrases, listen to people around you. They use certain words, certain phrases, and if you play them back to them, they love you, yeah, it's true. And the other thing is that people have preferences in whether they are visual, whether they are auditory, or whether they are kinesthetic. In fact, is there a little test in there to do? Do I remember? Do you want to just take a couple of minutes doing the test? I think it's...